This is Prasoon, and I welcome you to Atombarium Power Up episode number 3. Power Up is an idea series on learning automation, productivity, and performance. Well, as you know, in this series, we don't limit ourselves to just talking about stuff, we believe in showing you stuff. Alright, so let's move on. Today, we're going to talk about a little longish sounding topic, which is how natural language processing is used to create quizzes, you know, out of non interactive content. In simple plain talk, how suppose you have a PDF file or an HTML in which you have a learning material, how do you take that and convert that thing into a quiz? All right, so like we did in our first episode, this particular talk belongs to natural language processing, and in specific, this one uses a little bit of information extraction and a little bit of entity extraction. Well, this is for people who know about NLP. So, what's the business case? Why do we require? Why do we really require this? Okay, so before we dwell into the business case, let's understand why do we make e-learnings. Why e-learning content is actually created. So let's first understand what is a non-interactive content. Well, non-interactive content could be that PDF file, that doc file, that HTML, which doesn't interact with you. It's just like one way. It's like some kind of a broadcast. You just read it, and it's one way. You have to use your mind. That content is dead. It is not going to come and say, hey, why didn't you take this quiz, or So that's an example of a non-interactive content. Well, you make e-learnings because you want to wrap around that non-interactive or dead content a little bit of interactivity, a little bit of a sequencing. For instance, if you have seen any e-learning content, you may see that it has got a lot of instructional design done to it, so that things are spoken in a certain sequence which allow more recall, more learning. Then you see that those contents are interspersed with quizzes and check your knowledge, CYK as it's known as. So the whole idea is you pay for all those e-learnings because you want things to be more interactive. Well, then the next question is, why do you need it to be interactive? Okay, assuming most of us who are watching this video are humans, we must have gone through the same experience when you're in front of a content which is not very interactive. What happens to you? Happens to this, like this girl that you see over here. I mean, there's a boredom on her face, and that's what really happens. That if the things are not interactive, generally require much higher level of motivation to keep yourself happy. Research has shown that prolonged exposure to non-interactive content can make you a bit like this. It makes you look like a very sad deserted camel. It really bores you to the core. Now, interactivity allows you to be awake. It gives you more engagement, it gives you more learning, and more retention happens to you. So, if you are a student and you go through a content which is a little more interactive, which involves you, then you may definitely perform better at your exams or whatever be your goal. And same stands for in the corporate arena, wherein if you are going through a content which is more engaging, then probably whatever you learn you will be able to retain and apply better in your job. Okay, so the message seems to be clear then, right? It is about, let's go ahead, make more e-learnings. That's right. Yeah, this is how it looks like. Well, no, of course no. I mean, that's not what the message is. So actually, it's a little bad news. So what is the bad news? So the bad news is that most of the content cannot be made interactive. Okay, you may say why that be the case. Well, a couple of things. Firstly, there is a huge volume of such contents, and to convert all this content could be quite prohibitive in cost. The whole art of creating e-learning is still not very cheap, and it would take you about a light year to complete it. Yeah. Okay, you thought you got me, right? I mean, it would take a lot of years. Okay, so the real answer to this question is that you have to deal with it. You cannot do away with the content which is not interactive, because bulk of those manuals that we read, all that book that we read, are still those PDFs, those HTML and docs. Like they say, you can't choose your family. So guys, accept them. They're like your family. You can't choose them. But then they also say that you cannot choose your family, but you can choose your friends. So you have some friend which can rescue you from the monotony of such contents. Some tools that can help you take care of that problem. You know. So let's move ahead and understand. So AI is your friend. It comes with a lot of promises. So let me explain. Um, so imagine you have something over here which takes in a non or less interactive content and makes it more interactive. Would you not agree that if such thing happens, the output of this thing will be quite useful, and you may be able to leverage, learn more from that. So using artificial intelligence, there are people who are doing various different interesting stuff these days in the industry. And if I were to grade it, um, you can see there is a bleeding edge of technology, right? Bleeding edge of AI, where a lot of good stuff is happening, and then there is a middle end and there is a tail end. And each hub it has its own beauty, its own advantage. These high-end bleeding stuff require much more time and technology before they mature. This middle end is like a fair deal between the low end. Low end is about small toolings which can, this could be like a unit tool which help you in a certain way. Well, again, uh, what we are focusing in this talk is the lower end of it. Some tools that I want to show you which can help you do one unit task. um, and this field is very important because unfortunately most of the things that you would do uh, would require self learning. And when it comes to self learning, generally you don't have much support. Most of the contents are non interactive. So many times people face challenge because there is no tutoring available. There's nothing you can do. It's between you and your brain. So, I'm going to show you in this session a demo, right? Like I promised, wherein I'll show how we take any regular written content and then we put into that something which is a fill in the blanks generator, and a fill in the blanks will get generated to you. And we'll try and appreciate, and try and see, where these kind of solutions can fit in neatly. All right, so heading over to the demo. Okay, so for instance, you were interested in, say, life insurance, and that's your subject area that you are trying to learn, and you're going through this one longish, non interactive content. Or you could be in the technical field and you're reading about, say, Android, and you're trying to understand some fundamentals. Look at, how intense sometimes these documentation are, and there's no interactivity. You can keep reading. And the funny thing about such content is that you may get a feeling as if you are understanding. Unless you're tested, there's no way to know that for sure how much you have retained. So that's a big problem. So you may read things, but there's just no interactivity. Another example could be come from my school days, when I remember one of the longest poem that I had to really cram was Horatius, and it was quite a lengthy poem, and it was difficult to check whether I know it. Anyway, so let's head back and look at an example. So suppose I was reading about life insurance, and maybe it talks about term life insurance, some more concept. Let me admit I don't know about insurance as a subject, so I'm picking up something. But imagine you read through all of it. Now you're not sure, and you want to just check yourself whether you have understood or not. So say you pick up a paragraph here, or the entire text, whatever you want to do, and then go back to this tool. Let me spend about 15 seconds explaining. This is the tool that I was talking about. It will take a passage and it will convert it into a fill in the blanks. Essentially, it's pretty simple here, where you just put your paste the passage you have copied, and then this bar is the intensity bar, how difficult you want the fill in the blanks to be. Okay, so let's go ahead and press submit. Before we do that, let's just quickly look at, we were talking about term life insurance, if you see. Yeah. Okay, so now let's go ahead and, okay, so now using the natural language processing algorithm, the text was taken and decision was made, as in what words can be removed, which would make an effective fill in the blanks. Okay, so you see these blanks over here. That is what you are intended to fill. So let me try my hand at it. So this was about, I remember, term life insurance. So maybe I'll say term. Good, it gets green, which means this is the right selection. Life insurance is designed to provide potential protection for blah blah blah. With traditional, so it is trying to compare it with something else. Now this is the beauty of fill in the blanks. You have to exert your mind and really know whether you've understood those small gaps between concepts or not. So suppose I don't know it, I can take a clue. So when I take a clue, it gets highlighted, but it gives you the answer. So this talks about traditional term insurance, being compared with term life insurance, I guess. Then you can go forward, and after that, um, you can take another clue. Period. The policy may offer continued coverage, and there's also a score over here. So wherever I could answer correctly without taking help, I have been given a score. So that way you get some kind of a feel, of what's your grasp of the knowledge of that content. Now, you may use it and suit it to your style. Many a times, the fill in the blanks that may come to you uh, may not be most suited to your need, and that is where you may take some clues and move ahead. That's how we really go forward with. Another feature is that you can have various intensities of it. Suppose you want it to be a very hard fill in the blanks, then you can raise these lightning bars up, and this time you would see much more blanks are created. Now you may use it, you may not use it, but these are the things that are available. As you create a fill in the blanks, you can make it more tougher. So if it's so that if the person taking the test is not your friend, you have to put more lightning strike. That's the message. Let's take another example quickly, and this is an example which actually gave us the idea of creating this tool. So we were going through a lot of technical documentation, and um, like you've seen it, it can get pretty boring. So you can pick up anything similarly and go to the tool, you know, and use the same stuff, and then you get a quiz. It The algorithm takes care of trying to pull out words which are important and create a pretty good fill in the blanks experience for you. People can also use something known as a placeholder mode, wherein you come here and a little bit of clues are already provided to you here. You know, this is for rapid. If you don't want to be interacting as much, then probably you can use this kind of a mode. As a last example, let's look at this poem. Suppose you were learning this poem, you could put a couple of paragraphs into the tool, and then you can try it out. All right, I don't remember this poem at all. So, Lars Porsenov, Closium. Okay, I don't want to sound funny. So, this is how you can probably take anything that interests you and convert it into a fill in the blanks. And through that, you will get some bit of reinforcement of whether you have learned something or not. So that's the end of this demo, guys. A pretty simple tool, but like I said, these unit tools have their own values, and especially in a self-learning situation, they can be of immense use. I hope you guys like this demo, and if you are interested in knowing more about it or you want to collaborate with us, we are very happy engaging with you. You can reach out at powerup@stratbeans.com. Thanks a lot.